South Africa is in for major change in the structure of its government, with the African National Congress that has ruled single-handedly for the last 30 years, now having to seek coalition partners. An official declaration of results by South Africa's Election Commission is to happen on Sunday evening. In a new twist, former South African President Jacob Zuma, who heads the MK party, along with 20 other parties, are calling for result announcements to be postponed. Zuma has threatened legal action, demanding the announcement of the country's election results be stopped till allegations of vote rigging made by his party are addressed.
We are going to need the time. Nobody must declare tomorrow. Yes. No. If that happens, people will be provoking us, because we know what we are talking about.
Yes.
We are not guessing.
Yes.
We know. And why should they rush to count? And I'm hoping whoever is responsible is hearing what we are saying. Don't start trouble.
With 99% votes have been counted, the ANC vote share stands at just 40%, far below the 57% it held earlier. Here's what the votes picture looks like. The ANC had dipped way below the majority mark. The main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, has 21% of the vote share. The new MK party, formed by President Jacob Zuma, who once led the ANC but stepped down after corruption charges, came third with just over 14%, and Radical Economic Freedom Fighters is on 9%. The new president would typically be elected 2 weeks after the final results. Parliament has to convene and elect a president within 14 days of the formal announcement of the final election results. The ANC will need to form a coalition government with one or more of opposition parties. It remains to be seen whether it will join hands with the DA, MK, or one of the smaller players. Negotiations will be complicated, with several parties, including the MK party, refusing to back Ramaphosa as president. Despite the uncertainty, South African opposition parties have hailed the new political picture as much-needed change.
Would it be not ideal for the future that
our patriots overseas voted for? Siyabonga.
Turning away and not practicing their democratic right. Just your response to that. Thank you.
The numbers weren't that great, but there's...
And for more on this, we are being joined now by Edwin Naidu, who is a journalist and a political commentator live from Johannesburg. Thank you for coming on to our show, Edwin Naidu.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks.
So my first question to you is, what does the election outcome mean for the future of the ANC and its leadership? How will the results impact the political landscape and coalition dynamics in South Africa? Because we have seen that ANC certainly cannot form a government alone, and it's facing a dent for the first time in 3 decades. How do you see this panning out?
Well, you know, ironically, the ANC has been very keen to celebrate 30 years of democracy, and a lot of their messaging ahead of campaigning focused on what government has done. But I think, you know, what's very evident is they failed to read the mood of the people. You know, corruption, the electricity, power cuts, water, inequality, unemployment, they've all been major things that the ANC really never had a grip on. So I think this, no one really, you know, people were predicting the decline of the ANC, but, you know, I think it's very seismic in terms of the magnitude of the defeat. They've now got to work with enemies, basically, if they want to continue staying as ruling party. I think you saw the national chairperson 2 days ago had a sort of very arrogant attitude towards the success of MK party in KZN. But I think, you know what, the ANC, a lot of people on the ground are talking about healing, letting the party renew itself, because what we've seen from a national leadership level has been anything but healing, because when you look at 1 billion rand spent on the commission to investigate state capture, not a single government official has been charged or put in prison for billions that have been stolen. So I think the ANC took voters for granted and paid the price, and now they're going to have to work with, sworn enemies. There's many people saying, how can you vote? How can you partner with the Democratic Alliance? It's got apartheid origins, and was a coalition between the Democratic Party and the National Party at that time.
Right.
So also, President Zuma said he won't partner with the ANC unless Cyril goes. So automatically they're setting the ground rules, because the ANC under President Ramaphosa has just not shown decisive leadership, in my view.
Right. Mr. Edwin, how will the results especially impact the international policy of the South African government, when it comes to BRICS and the war in West Asia?
Well, South Africa is a very strong supporter of BRICS, benefits handsomely from investment via China and also India. I think you're going to find that support will continue. We've got a very pro-Palestine sort of stance as government, to the detriment of trade perhaps with Israel. So those are not going to change, because if you look at it, it's only the Democratic Alliance that differs from the ANC. Their leader, John Steenhuisen, went to Ukraine to meet the leadership of the Ukraine government and supports Ukraine over Russia. Our stance is towards Russia. So, we tiptoe around our friends, and I think you're not going to see change in policy. BRICS, with the addition of 5 new countries in January this year, I think we're still going to see BRICS being important to economy, being important to the country, important in terms of our relationships with people around the world.
Right. Coming back to, the South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and his future, there's a lot at stake. And many people are speculating that in order for the ANC to survive, he may step down. What are the most likely alliances you see in South Africa and the future of Cyril Ramaphosa right now?
Well, it's political expediency. Everyone, say, no, you can't vote or you can't partner with the DA. The irony is, in 1994, the ANC formed a government of national unity with the apartheid government, the National Party. So I can't see the DA being such a boogie party as the National Party, because I think the ANC needs to continue to govern. If they have any, the interests of South Africans at heart, they're going to do the most unlikely thing and partner with the DA, because the DA also has economic policies that support business. Cyril Ramaphosa is known or criticized by Zuma, in fact, as someone supporting white monopoly capital. So I think, I can't see the other parties actually being good for South Africa, because then, as we've seen with local governments and provincial coalitions over the last few years, it's ongoing fighting, it's ongoing lack of delivery for people. So it will continue. The rot that we've seen will continue, and South Africans won't win with a coalition that features ANC, MK, and EFF.
While we can discuss about the key issues like, some of the issues like corruption, unemployment, land reforms playing up to shape the voters' decisions, Jacob Zuma's MK party, along with 20 other parties, are now calling for the IEC to postpone the result declaration and address the 579 objections, including claims of rigging. He says there is no hurry and, quote unquote, don't start trouble where there is no trouble. How do you see these statements?
Well, I think, he's always had a very inflammatory sort of stance in terms of dictating what happens in South African politics. I think the rise of Jacob Zuma is perhaps a consequence of ANC inaction in terms of dealing with him. I mean, 6 months ago when he started announced that he's going to be supporting MK, they should have dealt with him and suspended him from the party. I mean, how ludicrous it is that you have a former leader supporting another party, but you don't take action against him, and because you're scared of violence. So I think the ANC is paying the price for its weakness, and you're probably going to find that it's going to enter coalition politics weakened if it doesn't take the bull by the horns and say, this is how we do it to make South Africa great. We failed, but now this is our solution to work together.
Mr. Edwin Naidu, thank you for joining us on the broadcast. It's certainly a big dent for ANC this elections, and we'll have to see how they steer away from this. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.